Ourfuture is the go-to business media brand for Gen Z. And today I have the founder of it. So Michael, tell us about yourself.
What's up, Nico? My name is Michael. I am the founder of Ourfuture. We are creating the go-to business media brand for Gen Z. We reach over 2 million viewers per week through short, exciting, digestible business content designed for the next generation. Our primary platform is TikTok, where we are really kind of innovating in the way that business content is delivered. We're really merging business and entertainment through our informative, short, to the point videos about everything from why Mark Cuban has 3 phones to how the founder of 5 Hour Energy grew the company. We're educating young people about business in a very digestible format that I believe is optimized for young people like me and you. And we're, on a great path right now, and we can't wait to expand out of TikTok.
Who was like your inspiration to start Ourfuture?
I think the guys over at Robinhood Snacks are pretty extraordinary. They, I'm sure you've heard them, you're nodding. They, really innovated in the way young, business content is spoken about. Like, they're so talented at making business content like fun, witty, engaging, exciting, fresh. And I always knew that I was really always gravitated to that, loved it. Kind of thought of myself as being someone to be able to do that. And I think Alex Lieberman over at the Morning Brew, he went to my university and they built a great media business, again, bringing a new voice to business content for young people. So if those 2 brands did it for more of a millennial audience, I'd like to be the one to do it for Gen Z.
Someone who I think of is Henry Bellcaster. He does vlogs on YouTube. And then he also has a company. It's called Clips. And then he has Smart Nonsense, which Clips and Smart Nonsense are the same thing. But yeah, they make these really cool clips. They for the Island podcast, tons of famous people, and they're amazing animated clips. So I think
Wow.
you'll knowing from
cool.
your style, kind of.
The site looks cool. Yeah, it's all about short form. Short form is short, engaging, clips is great.
It's taking over TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Reels. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Did Ourfuture always start with short form, or before was it something else?
First, it was an interview show like yours. So I interviewed people like the founders of companies like Grubhub, Netflix, Spikeball, Kayak. I interviewed C-suite executives at Chipotle, CEO of DocuSign, CMO of the New York Times, some really big kind of business names. And those interviews were 15 minutes. So my whole hypothesis was all these business podcasts were really long and I wanted to shorten them. So it was an incredible journey. I also interviewed a lot of young founders, people like you who are young and are shaking things up, raising money and building cool companies. So I have a mix of content in there, 150 episodes in our podcast library, which we did put on pause since going full time on TikTok. But yeah, that's how it began as an interview podcast. Now it's more of me as a storyteller. And I do plan to restart the podcast here in the near future to kind of expand out of just short form content.
I want to know how you got those guests, since I'm guessing you were a small YouTube channel back then and getting these popular people. How?
Yeah, so I didn't even really do YouTube. So all my numbers were very mysterious. So for one, I would pitch people on my age. And for you, I mean, it's even more compelling. I would say, hey, I'm the 20-year-old founder of Ourfuture. We're the go-to business podcast for young people. Will you give us a shot? Will you come and share your career advice to a young audience? This is not an audience that would normally kind of hear your insights and knowledge about the world. Do you want to give back? And I think that pitch really resonated with a lot of people. I think the emails were short and to the point. I think I also pitched them on my number. I would say, I have, several thousand listeners. And, the truth is I, in many cases, didn't have several thousand listeners. But it's all about over pitching sometimes. You have to oversell to really, make a name for yourself. And, if anyone's going to say, you lied, to get an interview, well, then they're not an entrepreneur. So it was a grind. And really coming from that underdog perspective of I'm doing something really cool here. I've already interviewed all these people. So as I kept doing it, I would list the other names I'd had. And they're like, oh, this kid clearly knows what he's doing. Not only does he have social proof, but he's interviewed some big names that are on par with myself. I'm gonna give him a chance.
Yeah, I used to my pitches used to be a lot longer. They used to be huge messages. If you want, I can share them with you. Let me share my screen because this was the pitch I used to send. It's a lot longer, as you can see. It got a lot of people. And then I switched up to the one I sent you. This, which is a lot shorter, and I haven't got a lot of responses, but hopefully I will get some response soon. And yeah, it seems to be working so far.
you want me to share mine and show you what I did?
Sure, I'd love to
All right,
see
I'll
it.
show you
I was
mine.
actually going to ask at the end.
Yeah, let's put it on. I'll show you how I got the some cool CEOs. Just let me share a screen real quick.
Oh, okay. There we go. You should be able to now.
Got you. Cool. Yeah, let me head over to my email real quick and I can give you a show. So go Mike Evans from Grubhub. So here it is. Here's why you should open an email from a 21-year-old who's obsessed with entrepreneurship. My name is Michael Sikand, and on my podcast, I've had 110 plus guests, like the founder of Kayak, blah, blah, blah. I just like really listed out my credibility, 110 guests from these companies. I used my TikTok numbers. So like at that point, I didn't really do TikTok, but I put a few clips on there that had gotten a lot of views. So I used those numbers instead of my podcast streams, which were a lot better. And then I'd be like pitching my personality. Like, I'm like no interview you've ever met. I'll make you laugh. Would you make time for a 30-minute interview? So it was like pretty chip. And then here's this guy's the founder of Grubhub.
Grubhub, right?
Sure, I'm game. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
being short and to the point.
I think if I wasn't like going to be included I'm the world's youngest podcast owner, I wouldn't get like the people I got. So it's kind of like thanks to that I got a lot of people.
Definitely.
A lot of these founders don't have like their emails public. How do you like find their emails and stuff like that?
Found them using Rocket Reach, which is email discovery tool. It's the best in the world. It's really expensive, but if you want to be a serious podcaster, you should have Rocket Reach.
Yeah, I had like I used it once, and I mean like kept on making different like I had a couple email accounts, so I kept on using it, and then you have to like verify your number, and you can only do it once, which was so annoying. But yeah, it worked for a while. And then I got some cool people's emails, but I wish I could continue going it. And it was kind of pricey, but yeah.
Yeah, the minute you sell your first sponsorship on your YouTube channel, you can 100%
exactly go to Rocket Reach.
I'm restarting it because we're using it for sales. So I don't need it for interviews anymore, but for ad sales, we're starting to reuse it.
Yeah. So how did you go from like the podcast to your current content? Like what inspired you to move on to the short form videos and stuff like that?
Yeah, I just thought about like, I really wanted to create a brand for my generation, like really innovate in the way they were learning about business. I realized that like there's so many business podcasts out there, and but really where people were spending their time was TikTok. So I was like, okay, if everyone's spending their time on TikTok, how can I make like something, how can I continue my mission? My mission from the start was to make business content more exciting and entertaining, to bring more business leaders and thinkers and entrepreneurs into the world, and to just keep them educated and give them a better source of information and knowledge. So I was like, okay, TikTok is the move. I already had to experiment with TikTok and done a few million views with my podcast just using clips. And I was like, I need to go into TikTok full time because that's the only place that I can literally generate massive numbers and become like a big name in the space fast, and like to really attract a lot of viewers for my content. So yeah, I went to TikTok. I was inspired by an account. His name's Frank Michael Smith. He's a sports storyteller, very premium content. I was inspired by his style, and I said, why isn't this being, this should be done for business content. So I created this style of storytelling with all this like outside footage and really like cool rap music that people love and subtitles. And I worked at it for a really long time. Not a really long time, like a month and a half, but to me it was a long time because I literally locked myself in my room and did this all day and night, making videos by myself. Now I've hired an editor overseas and have some more help. So yeah, it was definitely like experimenting with platform, and now I've really kind of cracked the code for successful content. We're doing 2.5 million views per week and pitching some brands on some pretty awesome sponsorship deals.
I kind of want to like ask you this question. Should I make like I have 2 TikTok accounts. When I just started to like where I'm posting clips from my YouTube channel from like different videos. And then like my personal one, which I've posted podcast clips before. Should I create a new one just for like the podcast, or should I post it on the clips one or my personal one? Like should I be posting the podcast clips and stuff like that? What do you think?
I think you should have one page. I don't think it's worth divvying up viewers to one or the other. You should have one hub of viewership of traffic, and then from there drive it elsewhere. You don't want to be, I personally don't believe in having 2 different accounts. Now it makes sense for some podcasters to have a clips account and like a regular long form account, and that's makes total sense. That's up to you. But clips are absolute necessity. And a great thumbnail and just high quality content like are a necessity. So yeah, I mean, just clipping up your content is going to be the most important thing. And it's so time consuming just to be able to do that long episode. It's much more, it's a lot of work to divvy it up, but it's kind of how you'll be able to unlock more growth through these short form channels.
Yeah, I had started a new channel for my podcast, and I just didn't like it. I wanted to keep all my content on one channel. So I started like bring it back to Nicocast. So if you frequently watch the channel, you can definitely tell things have changed. I have two channels because this one is a podcast channel, which now renamed to Nicocast, and the other one is called Nico Kuna. I posted on the content before. So what I said right there was kind of outdated, but just wanna update you guys. And then like the reason I have like the personal TikTok account, I want that account to be like for my friends, just like to post like random content that people watching my podcast probably won't like memes and like random stuff. And then like one for like my YouTube channel and stuff like that. That's what kind of I was thinking.
Yeah, I think it's smart, like that you chose just like the single one. I guess you just didn't want to post to a second one. Well, when you're small, I think it's important just to have one, and then once you get big, start a second one, right? When you have that awareness. But I think I agree with your approach in the short term.
Yeah. How do you find these topics like for your videos? Because some of them are so random, like reinventing the chicken nugget, like stuff like that. Like, how do you come up with these ideas?
Yeah, I don't report on these stories. I find them in other news sources. So I'll see what CNBC is covering, what Forbes is covering. I'll read a variety of newsletters. I'll scan the interweb for a lot of interesting content, and I'll just take I usually take like articles and other YouTube videos and stuff, and I convert them into TikToks. So what I'm doing is I'm not like, finding these stories originally. I'm not reporting on original content. I'm taking content that's already been made and then converting it into just a better format. So I'm essentially taking boring content like in an article or like a long written piece of work, and then I'm converting it into a video. So I'm just taking something that's boring and making it fun and delivering it to where the people are. Yeah, because definitely like even though the topics might be business like based, like the videos are kind of like fun, like the ideas are kind of like exactly. Well, like you mentioned, you don't like report on these topics. Would you ever become like a news source, like kind of like CNBC, like actually reporting on these topics, or will you just always stay as like just showing them and stuff like that? It's interesting, bro. Like the news space is definitely ripe for disruption. I mean, it's like the way young people get their news. Like, I don't think they're going to websites, and I think email newsletters suck. Like, they're just a terrible place to consume your news. But it's really not a business that I want to play in. The news is cyclical. Or that's not a great word to describe it. It's not evergreen. I like evergreen. When people can scroll my content library on TikTok, they are looking at evergreen content. They can select their story from my thumbnails. And that story will always be powerful. Now, if I were to do the news, that video would only be relevant for a day. And that's not what I want to do. Because with news, you just have to keep creating every day, and everything behind you becomes irrelevant. I want to be more like Forbes magazine for Gen Z and create really compelling stories that will stand the test of time. And that, in my opinion, will create for a much more compelling brand. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to not go into the news. I actually have a few cool news stories that I'm going to be doing soon in my next batch of films, but they are less like news stories and more like they were covered in the news, but like the story is just interesting in itself and is pretty evergreen, right? So one of them is like this startup is trying to bring back the woolly mammoth. And like, that's such a crazy story. And it was covered by all the major news outlets last week. Like, I'm going to cover it a week and a half later or 2 weeks later, but that story is still crazy. And like most of the people haven't heard about it because they're not reading those publications. So yeah, I mean, there is an element of breaking news, and I've done it before, so I might pepper it in, but it's never going to be the main kind of bread and butter of our brand. Yeah, I agree with what you said. Like, not many people my age are going to websites and like checking the news. Like, I can't even a kid my age that does that. Like, most of them just like get it from like TikTok, and Twitter. Oh yeah, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, like drama alert, like stuff like that, like influencer news, and yeah, like. It has changed 100%. Kind of like you mentioned towards the beginning of the podcast, you had an editor overseas. When you were like by yourself, like editing by yourself, how hard was it? And like, why did you decide to hire that editor? And where were you finding the money to pay him, since like 300 subscribers? So I really enjoyed editing. I love editing, but it's not the best use of my time. My talent is coming up with topics, writing scripts, and telling stories in a really engaging way. My time should not be spent stitching together B-roll and footage and images into my videos. Like, as a founder, you go from doing everything yourself to becoming increasingly a CEO. And you do that by automating processes that you used to take full ownership of, and then you delegate them out to other people. In the case of the video editor, now I can afford to pay him because we're monetizing through advertising deals. Those advertising deals are native advertising. Because I tell stories, I can also tell stories for companies that want people to buy their products. That's what makes our brand really compelling. for advertisers to work with us. So I'm paying an overseas editor. I found him on Upwork. I recommend Upwork for any creative who's looking for some video editing help, because there's people overseas who are very talented and who are undercharging and who deserve to be paid good rates.
Not Fiverr?
Fiverr, I think Fiverr really likes you to keep people on the platform. Upwork is inbound too. I think Fiverr, you have to hire the people, but with Upwork, they come to you. So it's just like, I haven't used Fiverr, but like I put on a post for a TikTok video editor and I got 25 proposals in an hour. And I found my guy, and now I have a second guy. So I recommend it to any content professional who wants to get some of that hard work off their plate, because my time now is best spent engaging sponsors and like building the team instead of building the actual content.
Yeah, it definitely saves you a lot of time, like Upwork, I'm guessing, because you're not searching for the people, they come to you. So you just put the post and then like chill. And I just like wait a week and you see all the responses. So it saves you a lot of time and stuff like that. And like you said, some of them are cheap. So a lot easier.
They're all cheap. Yeah, they're all cheap. And they're better than they're worth. There's some very talented people overseas who are not compensated in the same way Americans are. And that's just, it's crazy.
Will you ever like stop like getting other people to kind of like share the stories, kind of like how you were doing under the same name, or do you always want it to be like your face and like
it's a good question. It's a good question, man. We see so the modern media company is like people, like influencers, right? So there's two routes. Ourfuture could be an extension of me, and it is, and I could always be the face of that brand, and I could be the host of this company for the foreseeable future and build a really great and compelling business just as one guy. Now, it is exciting to think about, okay, what if I bring on that news reporter, right? What if I bring on that female lead to balance our audience demographics? We're about 80% male. What if I did bring on a female, a really great female? What if I brought on a daily news reporter, right? So it's interesting right now, but for these questions are not ready to be answered yet. What I have to do is build this business myself. I'm all I have. Build a team around me to kind of automate a lot of these processes and build a compelling business, and then think about where we can go from there.
What are like some ways you're looking to like build your business, like you said?
Yeah, so build the business. We're building the business by putting out monetized content. So like native advertisements to sell to sponsors, right? We tell stories about brands and we get people to sign up for their products and buy their products. So that's what we're doing right now. So we're looking to do about one piece of monetized content per week, which is a good start. We do 7 videos a week. 1/7 monetized is solid for us, and with the rates we're gradually working up for. And then from there, I want to use that to finance some bigger ambitions. I'd like to write a book down the line that's kind of like a handbook for young entrepreneurs, taking all these stories, put them into a book. And I'd love to restart my podcast with some really big names. Like, I'm sure you'd want to interview with people like Mark Cuban and like Damon John and like Bob Iger. Like, I want to restart the podcast now that I have more clout in a bigger way, hire like a producer and like really get that content to a really high level. So like, this is a podcast like no one's seen before, and that's kind of where I want to go in terms of longer, more prestigious forms of content beyond like the short form stuff we're doing right now. I'm really just using it because it's really the only way to finance your way into like finance and build an audience to do bigger stuff, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, I feel like with like the taking a short break from it, like it's a good idea because you got some pretty popular names like Mike Evans from Grubhub and stuff like that. And now you're starting this, which might have more potential in the podcast initially to grow, and then you continue the podcast because a lot more people will know you, and then you can start getting bigger guests. And if you like were not to have started the podcast before, just be coming in with big guests and not having much experience in doing the podcast bad, and since you had experience before, now you have some social proof. It allows you even more opportunity to get these guests, if that makes sense.
It really does. It really is a great path, and I do love interviewing, bro. Like I love it. Like I love what you're doing. I love it. So
I love interviews.
Yeah, I love them. So I'd love to be able to go back to that. But right now I'm doing what's working. I'm doubling down on what's working, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I want to like start interviewing more like founders of like companies and stuff like that, because I right now mainly interview like influencers. I've only interviewed like 3 company founders. And I kind of want to do more because I've recently seen a lot of people do them, and I just find it so interesting. And the thing is, you don't see many like kids talking to like Mark Cuban, like interviewing him, like stuff like that, which I think something that might be interesting. So do you think it's a good idea or?
It's a great idea. Here's Mark Cuban. It's mcuban@gmail.com.
Yeah, I sent him an email a while ago. He's still
denied me. I would send it. I would send one a month.
Yeah.
Send one a month.
That's what I do with like all my guests. If there's a guest I really want and they don't respond, I like every month I like resend like with Colin and Samir, I send email almost every month like to them because I want to interview them so bad. But yeah.
There's some really good creators right there.
Yeah. So where do you see Ourfuture in like 5 and 20 years, like your business?
It's a crazy question. I think I would like Ourfuture to be the source of inspiration for our generation. Now, the interesting part is I think we're doing a good job right now of like delivering great content and telling stories and educating our generation right now of what platform is hot. Like they're all on TikTok, but like how will that evolve, right? Like how will they go from TikTok to other forms of media? How can we stay relevant? And I think that's a huge problem for many media companies is how do you stay ahead of the curve, right? And we have to figure that out ourselves. We have to mature in our voice. I'm going to grow up. Like I'm not going to be the 21-year-old host anymore. And that's something that we have to contend with. So whether it be bringing on new hosts to service a younger demographic, or whether it be, again, being very receptive to what platforms people are using. I believe media companies were all extremely late to TikTok, and now they're trying to get on there, and it's like, it's kind of late, and it's still very early, but like relatively late. So, it's important to stay attuned to things. And in terms of where Ourfuture would be in 5 to 20 years, I mean, a bar stool for business content, really like entertaining content for business. Doing documentaries, doing movies, like more Wolf of Wall Street style stuff. I mean, that is business entertainment at its finest, right? So graduating over time to more higher levels of content as our audience ages and becomes more mature, I think is the right progression.
Yeah, I feel like what you just said is like amazing because like sticking to one content like might be good, but like it's also good to like try different things, like you said, like documentaries, because you never know, like TikTok might be doing good for you, but documentaries can do even better for you. So it's always good to like try new things. You can get a new audience and make the audience like your other content, and it just like builds a endless stream. You have like so many streams of income, so many like new viewers.
Disney,
like, exactly.
Yeah, it's Disney, bro.
Exactly.
The content is at the center, and then you have this great brand you can license out and build great products around and build a really amazing company around, right? And content's where it all starts. Like good content is where it all begins.
Yeah, and I feel like a way you can like kind of start making like these documentaries is like grab like one question from your podcast, a question like when you did a podcast, like grab an interesting question from one interview you did, and then like make a whole documentary on that and make like the end like person's answer, the beginning like the build up. I don't know if it kind of like made sense, but yeah, did it make sense?
What, like asking someone a question on the podcast and then answering it with a documentary?
Like using it, like, for example, grab one of your older interviews, grab a question from that interview that's already recorded, and then make a documentary on that already recorded question and then like answer at the end, if that makes sense.
Oh, like a TikTok documentary or like a full-length documentary feature
like
film?
It can be like 40 minutes, like feature film, like TikTok, like 20 minutes, like whatever length. But I don't know if I made sense, but I feel like personally, I feel like that's a good idea.
I think it's cool. Yeah. Answering a question that you really answer over some deep research and storytelling that you arrive at the end, I think is really cool. Like it's just like a journey of curiosity is a cool idea.
And a quick example is like, I've asked many people, like, do you think equipment is needed? Where I can make like a full video on that, like a full 15-minute video. And every like 5 minutes, give like these different people's responses, if that makes sense. If that explains it even better.
Yeah, it's good to have repeatable questions in your content, like repeatable content formats that you can then use for stuff like that. So I definitely agree with that approach.
When you start back the podcast, what would be your dream guest?
My dream guest on my podcast. I mean, from a business perspective, who would be my dream guest on my podcast?
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive? Wow, I need to come up with a good answer to this question. I think it would be cool. I mean, obviously Elon would be awesome. I met Elon. Yeah. I met Elon when I was 12. My parents won an auction. This is before he was super famous. Wow. I was 2012. My parents won an auction package and I brought my friend and we got to go meet Elon at SpaceX. And I remember I remember not only did I not get a photo, we were just so starstruck, but I remember asking a question that I don't believe was that good of a question. Not much, I wasn't the same business obsessed kid as I was back then. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I asked him a question and I don't know if it was the best question. I still remember him answering it. So I'd love to bring him back and tell him about that experience and, really hit him with some great questions.
Yeah. Like my personal like dream guests that are alive, like Walt Disney, like Nikola Tesla, Disney. Elon Musk.
Disney, you know what? Yeah, Disney would be a good one.
Yeah. Someone else told me that, and I was like, oh, that's a really good one.
It's a great
Because
one. We were learning about him today.
I had never thought of like that I wanted to interview Walt Disney. Someone else said it, and I was like, that's a good one. Princess Diana, like Elon Musk, like you said, like there's so many people that keep going for like so long. The thing with podcasts, it's hard to run out of guests. Because there's like you go to any niche and pick someone from there that has a following, and it's just so easy and you're stuck with so many people and stuff like that. But anyways, we're getting towards the end of the podcast. I want to start asking like this question at the end, which I don't normally ask. It has nothing to do with what we talked about. But which goes first, the milk or the cereal?
Definitely the cereal. Yeah, it's just like you're taking a risk if you pour the milk first, because then you have to measure. You need to pour the cereal first so you know how much you want to eat.
I always put the milk first, and my friends get
Really?
so mad at me at that. Like
I don't know about that one, Nico.
I haven't.
I don't know.
So anyways, do you have any advice for anyone who wants to start doing like TikTok, like business TikTok?
Yeah, I think highly edited content is a good path. I think you put in a lot of effort, and you might not see the results, but like once you just like keep experimenting, I think keep it short, controversial. Like you have to create stuff that people will share, and you have to create things that people will watch. It has to be high quality enough to retain the viewer. I think subtitles are important. Putting that extra effort to add to your content. Be agnostic to the platform. Like really be on that platform to be on that platform. Don't be making content for another platform and putting it on that platform. But really, I just really getting to the point. Like I really try to trim down my stories to only provide what people need to know. And I think that's a big skill, to be able to summarize stuff. So if you can summarize stuff effectively, and you can turn it into stuff that is more succinct, it's a very powerful skill. And I think even if you don't do the kind of content that I do in this highly edited kind of storytelling style that requires a huge production commitment, just leverage trends and then be creative. Like you can start your own trends. Like I'm literally like, I love watching these videos where it's like rags to riches on TikTok. Like it's remember I was in the project. Whoa, everybody get their hands out. Like I'm literally gonna start another page just doing that for like business leaders. So yeah, I mean,
TikTok is so amazing. They're like so funny.
I love like what other people are doing. I do my stuff. My stuff is very unique, but I would love to do even more stuff. And yeah, I mean, I love trends. I think they're funny. I think they're a great way to exchange information. So get on that, because I think it'll be fun, and also be providing value to your audience if it's relevant to business. Yeah,
and when you said like controversial content, getting people to share and comment, like have a huge like argument in your comments, it gets like promotes your video so much. And
yeah, I mean,
if you're watching on TikTok, not many people pause the video while they're like reading the comments. The video's going on in the background. You're getting views, you're getting comments, and it's just like amazing.
It's a flywheel, man.
Yeah.
There's a good debate going on in mine right now. I posted a video about like a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old who are making 40K a month mining crypto. The whole
like the 14-year-old and like their sister.
Yeah, they're going crazy in the comments.
Like rich parents, like stuff like that.
Yeah, they're all saying that.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This really means a lot. Before we end, is there anything you want to promote?
Yeah, check out our TikTok page, at ourfuturehq. You'll be addicted to the content and you will love it. I'm not going to sell it. It'll sell itself. So see you there. Yeah, I definitely got addicted. And if you're doing this podcast, I'm pretty sure you will too. Anyways, thank you so much. And yeah, this really means a lot. And I'll see you next episode of the Nicocast. You're the man, Nico. I really love what you're doing, bro. And I can't wait to see where you go. Keep me updated, okay?